My name is Jay Thompson. I am the former Director of Industry Outreach at Zillow. I worked for Zillow for almost 7 years, and I retired in just last August, a couple months ago, which is pretty fabulous. If you ever get a chance to retire, I highly recommend it. But Zillow sucked me back in to come do this, which I more than willingly did because I get to see all my friends, my old coworkers, and all my Premier Agent friends. And that is way more about me than you need to know. So I am going to let the panelists introduce themselves. There's no point in me talking about them, so here we go. Just tell us,
Hi everyone, my name is Mercy Lugo Struthers, and I manage a small brokerage, boutique brokerage in Virginia, specifically in Woodbridge and Fairfax area.
And I'm Erin Catron, and I'm in the Tulsa market, and I have a small team in the Tulsa market.
So this panel is the power of tools and training. So we're just going to jump right into it. I'm reading questions on my phone, so I don't want people to think I'm just sitting here on my phone while these ladies are up here talking. These are my notes for the panel, so I'm not on Facebook. So what is your secret to make sure your teams stay up to date with current information, technology, and the tools to help make them successful? Just kind of give us a basic overview of your thoughts on tools and tech.
Absolutely. I think that it starts by hiring the right people, because you need to make sure that your teammates or your people that are going to be working with have the right mindset, and that's a growth mindset. If that's ingrained in them, it doesn't matter what sort of like tools you put in front of them, they are going to embrace it and they're going to make it happen, and it's going to be fun for them to learn about new technology, to utilize the tools, because they understand that by leveraging those tools, they're going to be profitable because they're going to be enabled to get their job done.
Very good. So who all in here is on a team or runs a team? Okay. So this is where I think that technology really comes into play for me. And if you're on a team, where you can have that accountability, and then where you can also make sure that you have it where everybody, I think it's really important that you have a team that everybody can kind of see everybody else's numbers. And so then they can go, I'm gauging it off of what this person over here is doing, and I'm not pulling my weight. So a few of the things that we do technology-wise, we have our CRM that has an accountability, basically tracking calls, outbound, inbound, text, a number of people that have reached out to them. We also have a tracking for how many appointments they've set. So everybody has these matrices. So what we do is we kind of take them and make sure that everybody on the team can see everybody else's numbers. I think the accountability side is very important. It's also easily accessible. So we use a lot of Google Drive docs, things like that. So that way at any time they can go in and know, because they're having to hit certain numbers to be able to stay on lead distribution or get other kind of perks like that on the team. So that's where we probably utilize it, and then making sure that they're armed with the knowledge to be able to use all of those systems that we've given them. Because the worst thing in the world, especially as a team lead, is to be paying for these systems and then they don't use them. So we try to make sure that it's almost not even an option not to use them, and we make sure that they get trained from the beginning.
And that not using the tools is actually a perfect lead into the next question, which is, and when I talk to agents, and I used to talk to agents all the time at Zillow, but I still talk to them, and brokers, and I owned a small independent brokerage myself, and adoption of the tools, getting people to use those tools, I know is a pain point for many team leaders and brokers. So how do you make sure that your team members or your agents adopt and use the tools that you provide?
It begins, again, with the right mindset, in my opinion, because they're already open to receiving and utilizing the tools that they're going to be given to them. I think that is very important that you make it fun, that you spend the time training. I use both, since I'm a small brokerage, basically I spend a lot of time myself training them. And then at the same time, they understand that they are like tutorials, videos, and checklists that they need to utilize to be able to use the systems, what is expected from them. And I think that that's basically it. And I think that one of the things that I enjoy the most, because I said I've done my job, is when I see them helping each other. because they embrace them, they like them, they are producing, and one that is not so sure about it, they're going to see the coworker, and it's contagious.
Okay, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said pain or pleasure, and that's how we're all motivated. It's either going to be the pleasure of making money, of having a great culture, or it's the pain of missing out. Or I like to play a little bit on that competitiveness too. And so, you know, you want to have that people seeing, oh, I'm doing this and they're doing that, or we have a very competitive using those tools. If you don't use them, you're not going to get any leads. You're not going to have any opportunity. So the speed, the reaction time, that's going to be super important. I also think that making them, like you said, the pleasure too, we do a lot of fun things to motivate. Know your team. Know how they're motivated. Understand who you're working with. I think that when you're in the leadership role, I know that my style is more of the fun and cheerleading style, but that doesn't work for everybody. And so if I'm trying to encourage and cheerlead people that are like my husband, who just says, I am so goal-oriented and I don't need you to cheer me on. I just need you to tell me what's expected and where you're wanting me to go, and then I need to figure out the fastest way to get there. So knowing your team, I think, is super important, and knowing that not everybody on your team is the same. So every single agent that you work with is going to be motivated differently, and finding out how you can take that and make sure that you are utilizing the tools and encouraging them, demanding, let's just say it's demanding, because you really do, you need to demand that it's used. These are the tools, this is how you make sure that you utilize them, and if you don't, here's the consequences, or here's the fun party, and here's the pom-poms. So it's one or the other, and just understanding who you're talking to.
You guys have both mentioned tools. You mentioned, Aaron, you mentioned a CRM. Can you give us the specific CRM and tools that you use? It's okay to name names and name brands, so that's let us know. Yeah.
Okay, absolutely. I use Follow Up Boss, and I'm also using the Zillow CRM, both at the same time. I absolutely love Follow Up Boss because, again, it's very transparent. Everybody knows what they're doing. Is the way that they are getting the leads, is the way that they are communicating and prospecting with the leads. It also provides tools to make sure that we're doing the proper follow-up, whether it's a marketing campaign, whether it's a phone call, whether it's a nurture. And I think that more importantly, it also helps me track their performance, what is going on behind the scenes. And they can, like I said, it's also transparent. They can also see. The other day I was with one of our lenders, because I also provide an account to the lenders so they have access to the leads, so they know what is going on. And she gave me a conscious saying, no, Mercy, I am lost without Follow Up Boss, because it is habit. I think that at the beginning, like anything else, it was a little bit hard to put it in place. But once they embraced it and once they saw the benefits of how it simplifies their life, and how when they call a lead back and they remember the name because they have been doing their job of proper follow-up on the right days according to all the checklists that are included in the system, that makes a big difference.
That's really good. Okay, so I bet you if we polled everybody here, everybody is going to name a dozen different CRMs. So the most important thing about your CRM is that you utilize it and that you are holding everybody accountable. So I think the theme of the day seems to be accountability, and we're already seeing that. It's the same thing that we've been introduced to earlier. So what our CRM promotes, probably most important to me, is that accountability aspect. All text messages go through our CRM. All phone calls go through our CRM. Everything is recorded. All of our numbers are targeted to go to each individual agent that they're going to be called directly through our CRM. We are going to make sure, and let me say this, we fail every single day at this. So there are always things that you have to just continuously watch and make sure and put people in place to make sure that the people are doing what they're supposed to do. So your CRM can be the best CRM that you can find, the best that money can buy, but if you're not looking at it and if you're not holding them accountable, you might as well save your money and not even do it. We use FirePoint, and it is integrated with Zillow. We also use one of my favorite things that we use too in FirePoint. So we have a 10 and 2. We want 10 touches in the first 2 days. So we want to make sure that when a new lead comes in, if we haven't connected with them, we're going to follow up 10 times in the first 2 days. And you're going, my agents go, oh my gosh, 10 times, that's a lot. Email, text. Well, first we text. If you're not texting, you're missing the boat. Text is probably our #1 converter right now. So a text is going to go out. If they don't respond to that, then we're going to call. Usually on the first call, we do not leave a message. And then we're going to call again later on, because how many times do you get a phone call from a number that you don't know? They don't leave a message, and then 30 minutes later they call again, and you're like, dang, this person might need something. I don't know who this is, but they've called me twice now. And so that's 3, or then we're emailing. We also use BombBomb. I'm sure a lot of you in here are using BombBomb. That's a video email. Very, very impactful. Our agents use this a lot. I use this a lot. I mean, when you are communicating with others, video is so powerful, and it's still that one-way communication that they can do it on their terms. So we're finding that we're getting a really, really great response from all of our video email. So throughout the day, then they're going to text again if they haven't. So that's only 5 or 6 times in the first day, and then the next day you're following up again. We have simple, scripts for text messages. But FirePoint, to go full circle, because I'm getting off topic, but that's what we use as FirePoint for our CRM. And then we tag all of our clients a certain way depending upon when they come in and the contact that we've had and the interest, if there is any, isn't any, and how they go, and then how they need to be followed up with.
You stole my line on the CRM, and it's fine. The best CRM is the one you use. Right, I've seen so many agents spend so much money on different tools and systems, and it's usually a CRM. They can be complicated. They can be hard, like you said. It's tough in the beginning to do it and to get into that habit of using them. But I used to tell my own agents when I ran a brokerage, I don't care if you use whatever. There was no FirePoint then. Top producer, a cocktail napkin, a spreadsheet, whatever it is, as long as you've got to use it. You've just got to use it. And it does get overwhelming sometimes with all the features and the stuff and the things that these systems do, and it can be a little overwhelming. But that's a key point. The most important system is the one you use. Oops, pushed the wrong button on my phone. Let's talk a little bit about training and quote-unquote formal training. Do you guys have like in-house training? Do you do virtual training? Do you have group training sessions? Just give us an overview or some insight into how you train your teams and your agents.
Just as a reminder, I have a small team. We're about 5 in the team and 7 total. From a training perspective, what we do from the moment that they start, with us, we make sure that they understand which are the tools that they are expected to use. Because there's a saying like, this is the way that we do things here, right? So it's very important for us to do that. But I think that one of the things that I take great pride on my team that they are doing is consistency. First of all, we meet every day at 8:30 in the morning as a team. And before we start the day, we sit down, and this is a little bit off topic, but I think that is important. We go and we recite in front of our vision and mission, because it's important for us. It's kind of like our first 5 minutes. It's a huddle meeting. And from then, everybody is going to take seat, and then we're going to start utilizing our CRM for the time to do prospecting. So in terms of the actual training that happens, it happens at the beginning, but I think that training really never stops, because while an agent, once they begin and you tell them, okay, this is the checklist, this is the process, this is the videos that you have to watch, this CRM, and as we have been listening here in the conference, technology is evolving every single time, right? So I'm fascinated. Almost every month I receive an email from my CRM with the new changes, the new things that they're putting up. So we discuss that on meetings, or as we are talking and doing prospecting, one of the agents may find something new, a new tool, and it gets communicating among us. From a formal training perspective, what I like to make sure is that besides the regular things that happen on a daily basis. We also have a weekly meeting that we have to bring back. But we have a weekly meeting where basically we talk about what's new, what's exciting, we celebrate with all the different things that we can, and then I encourage them on a quarterly basis to do some sort of like training to advance their career. That's very important, and that should go above and beyond the tools that we are offering, because I think that we all have, we are investing in them by giving them the right tools to be successful, and I also expect them to invest in themselves to just better themselves as a professional.
So I'm a huge checklist person. I feel like if I don't have something that I can like check a box off, then I find myself going all over the place. So we have a checklist. I know that sounds really simple, but that checklist that we give to the new agents are going to have everything from what your first day at the office looks like up until, month 3. And as the time goes along, it gets a whole lot, less, I guess, congested. In the very beginning, it's going to be simple things like changing your email signature, making sure that you go like the Facebook page, making sure, it's very, very detailed, setting up a lot of the things. We're a boutique type brokerage that recently joined, a franchise. And so our process has had to evolve, because now it's not just them coming in and going, okay, yay, you're onboarded, you're with Aaron Catron and Company, and it's pretty simple. Now we have to go through a few more, steps. So as that's happened, we've had to, change and move with the changes. So checklist, one of the big things that I think for me especially and understanding is that we have a lot of those things on that checklist that requires that agent to be the client. And so like sign a contract, fill out a contract through .loop, send it to yourself, see what it looks like, understand, make sure that you know what they're going to be looking at. So a lot of times we attract a lot of new agents. So a lot of our agents have zero experience. They're not coming from another brokerage. They haven't ever even seen contracts before. Lord knows when they get out of real estate school, that doesn't even equip them even slightly, to go out and actually do business. So we have, again, you have to kind of know, but circling back around to the tools and technology, we have those detailed out and even links, and then making sure that we share documents with them with passwords that are going to have, here's your docs, we want to make sure that we have control over, access what they're looking at. But that's what I would say is we just kind of got it in a simple checklist that has a lot of details on it, so it kind of helps them on board.
I love that you have your agents act like a consumer. My wife and I bought a condo in February, and it was painful. And I thought at the time, and my wife is a real estate agent also, we looked at each other and we said, you know what, agents should just have to buy or sell a home once a year, just to remember what it's like from the consumer side. Because I think we tend to forget that, because we see it every day, day after day. So a contract, you have it practically memorized, but the vast majority of your clients have probably never seen one, or they saw it 7 years ago when they last bought their house. So I love the idea of letting your agents or your team members be a consumer and seeing it from the consumer side. That's very cool. Mercy, you talked a lot about hiring. I have a feeling I know how you're going to answer this question, but I'm going to still let you answer it. There's lots of tools and there's lots of technology, and we've already agreed that sometimes getting adoption is hard or difficult. How do you handle it with an agent or a team member if they just don't get it, or they refuse, or they're like, I don't need your system, I have my own system. You got great checklists, I have better checklists, whatever it may be. How do you deal with that agent or team member that's just not quite playing the full game?
They can be an independent agent.
I thought that's what you were going to say.
Absolutely. Because again, this is the way that we do things here. We're investing in them to make sure that they succeed. If they succeed, I'm going to succeed as well. So I want to make sure, and you know what? Team is not for everyone. There are some people that, they're not coachable. So that's okay if you're not coachable, because, you may have another idea of how you want to grow. Perfectly fine. There's independent. I've offered that in my company, right? And if you don't fit the culture, there are other companies as well.
Okay, who in here has had a toxic team member? Okay, if you're not raising your hand, then it's coming. So this is what I would say. Probably one of the the hardest things that I've had in my business is learning to let go. And I think that if you are a team lead, if you are somebody who is pouring into others and wanting good for others, I mean, you ask me my purpose, and I'll tell you my purpose is to build people up. The hardest thing, and this is a huge failure for me in my business this year, I had, and it was a husband and wife on my team. They were the biggest producers. They were terrible for my culture. And I made the mistake of letting it slide because they produced so much. And I let it go and let it go and let it go. And things progressively got worse until finally, you know, when it all came to a head and I come in and they have not only up and left me after I've tried to invest in them, they left and took some stuff with them that didn't belong to them. And so this is where I would say that understanding that these things will happen and it's part of our business, unfortunately, but if I could go back, and hindsight's always 20/20, I wish that I would have been stronger and recognized and been able to just say, look, I don't care that you're producing this much. I mean, I don't care that you're doing 12 deals a month, and that's a tough one, but I wish that I had, and I paid for it. And then what happened, and the really, really cool thing is that when they were gone, the rest of my team, it was amazing how they pulled together. And then the entire office had this different feel to it, that it was now, we're gonna pick up the slack. And guess what? We're gonna make sure that we don't let things fall through the crack. And leadership, people that were just helpful, the culture in my team is so much better. It is not combative. It is not, it's truly more of a, how can we help each other? We're in this together. And that's probably my biggest failure this year has been the biggest challenge was the best growth that I'm gonna have. And I think that's usually how it is for us. So I think that the culture is really, really big.
Yeah, those are both great points. And I think a lot of it depends on who you hire, right, to start out with. But we're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. It can change. People do change.
Yeah, I mean, and I like stories. This particular agent was a stay-at-home mom for 19 years. She came and she was my administrative assistant, said, I will never sell real estate. Do not ask me to do that. I convinced her to get her license. Next thing you know, fast forward a year later, her first year in production, she closed over 50 deals. She had confidence, she had worth, she had value, she bought into, everything. She was drinking the Kool-Aid. She was chugging the Kool-Aid. And then things can change. And as that, I would say the humility, that humbleness, I don't know if that's a word, but I'm gonna make it a word. So it changed and it got a little bit more ego. And so when that happened, then things started changing, and it wasn't about how do I contribute, how do I help others. It's about how do I get mine. And so you can hire the right people, because I'm telling you, she's the right people. She was the right people. And for a year and a half, she was right. But I think we hold on. I think sometimes we do hold on too long because we see that and we want good and we think, oh, but I know that there's good there and I can make it better. You can't. You can't. If it's gonna get better, that's her. I don't have any control over that. And quit kidding yourself if you think you can control people, because you can't.
At one point.
Yeah, please.
I think that just to add to that, I think somebody told me once that I love my team. I adore my team, right? We all do. We all want to see the best for them. However, we are running a business. We are not running dysfunctional families. I think that that's very important.
That is really important. I can tell you from my personal pre-real estate life experience, I worked in human resources. And all I did for the last 3 years of that job was shut down factories and lay people off. And terminating people, laying them on, firing them, telling them to move on is a really, really, really hard thing to do. If you care at all about people, and every one of you out in this audience cares about people, or you wouldn't be a real estate agent, it's really hard to let somebody go. But like you said, they get toxic, they change. You've got to do that at some point. That's something that every broker and team leader at some point is going to have to tell somebody, in effect, you're fired. But it is a painful thing to do if you have even just half a heart. So we have a few minutes left. Oh, I see someone that wants to ask a question. Chelsea, can you? She's going to get you a microphone.
Better. Watch my water. So tell me, what gets so frustrating sometimes is the fact that we don't only have leads coming in from Zillow, but we have leads coming in from all kinds of other sources. How do you maintain all of that and not have the agents say, oh my gosh, there's stuff coming at me from everywhere? Is your FirePoint system, does that help with that? Or what systems do you use to make that easier for the agents that they don't miss out on leads?
Okay, so lead sourcing and how important is it to know where our leads are coming from and how we're converting? Yes, FirePoint does. So it depends upon, like, let's take Zillow, and if I had anything else, which I don't know why you would, no, but I get it. So we have all different kinds of leads, and a lot of them are going to be, most of them are going to be phone calls. So our call to action is trying to get people to call. So what we do is it identifies, we have phone numbers set up. So we use Dialogue Tech. If it's a sign call, then that is going to have a certain number. If it is a TV ad, that's going to have a certain number. It's a different number, a unique number. If it is Zillow, our Zillow profile, I actually have multiple Zillow profiles, but they are going to have different phone numbers. All of those are going to be routed the same way, and our agents will get them, and they can recognize. A lot of them they can recognize, and some of them they don't know, because it might be, we want the caller ID to show, because there's a lot of times that people, when you get connected and your agent gets excited, and then we had this happen the other day. One of our newer agents catches a sign call, and she says, okay, I'll come meet you. I'll be there. I can be there in 20 minutes. And then she looks up and she's like, I forgot to ask them their name. I didn't get a name. I didn't get an email address. I didn't get a phone number. And so, she's panicking. And the good thing is that we can go back through our system and find that information. But we want to make sure that those sources are all coming. And then as far as integrating into FirePoint, some of them will automatically parse and some of them do not. So again, it's the agent's responsibility. If they get a sign call, because our agents, it's broadcasting to every single buyer's agent at the same time. So whoever picks it up, they have to claim that lead. So everybody knows, you guys are all going to get that call and you might get it, but if you don't know that she got it, then you're afraid that somebody's not getting taken care of. And so you've got to say, I've got this person, I set an appointment, I'm on my way to meet them at the house. So that way everybody knows. And then we look and make sure that they got inputted into the CRM if it's not something that automatically gets pushed through. Does that answer your question?
That you're referring to phone calls and so on coming in, right?
Correct.
Do you use other CRMs or
So
other lead
we
sources?
only use FirePoint, and they do have they have PPC, pay-per-click, through FirePoint. So, and we don't do Boomtown, we don't do Tiger. We do a lot of different avenues. We use bold leads, cast leads, pay-per-click, Zillow. We don't
So
really.
then what do you do with bold leads, for example? Do they go on the back end
They
of
sync
that? And then-
into, yes.
Oh, they
So-
do sync right into this FirePoint?
Yes, they sync right into there. So then when we get a new lead, there's a notification that's going to go out, and then FirePoint allows, like, these are two of my agents right here, so I'm pointing to them and looking at them. So let's say Sarah gets a buyer bold lead. Our system recognizes that it's a buyer, and then there's a different platform for sellers. So Heather gets a seller opportunity. Sarah's going to get the buying opportunity, and then it's going to parse into FirePoint, and we make sure that that person has been contacted. We've also integrated, and this is a really cool technology, and we've integrated through FirePoint again, a text. Is anybody using like an auto text system? So yes, so this is something too that we've actually taken away from our client or from our agents so much. We're doing immediate texts that are going out, and it doesn't matter what time of the night, because if they're on, that's one thing I would feel like we lose a lot of, is those nighttime hours. I'm not up at 2 o'clock in the morning. Yes. I am using, it's called Ava, what is it called? Is it AVIA? AVIA. I think is it Ask It? I can't, it's something like that. If you put Ava in and it's an auto text responder, you'll find it. Okay.
And very quickly, for follow-up, boss, just answering your question, I have the ability, I mean, everything goes into follow-up, boss. I have used, I don't know if you're familiar with conversion, I have Zillow, I'm in the process of beginning Boomtown, and then also the agents have the ability to manually input any, sphere of influence or any other stuff that exactly any leads that they have, but everything pretty much goes integrated, and it gets ranked, or not, it's like stage. You know if they're a seller or they're a buyer depending on how they fill their questionnaire. In my case, I find it simple because I believe that I'm not doing 10 or 12 things at the same time. I have learned my lessons both mentally and in my pocket. So I want to make sure that I'm focusing on a couple of lead generation sources. So far for me, it's working fine because everything is going through the same source.
Are you using any LMS systems at all? And if you're not, learning management systems, so that the agents can continue to own their development in their own time and remotely? If you're not, have you been approached at all by anyone?
No.
I
And
have
when
no.
you're saying,
Learning management systems?
No.
Trainually, Lessonly, these are some of the competitors out there now that are offering online training. So you put your checklists and you show your agent progression and training on an online platform, and the agents get to sign on and engage with their learning, what they need, if it's communication styles or mentoring and that kind of thing. Yeah, it's all in one system. So I know that we've been approached by two, and I just mentioned them, but I just wanted to know if you were exploring any of them and had any feedback.
Not yet, but we will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe you can see me.
Absolutely.
Sounds super interesting, so it makes sense. Do you have any other questions? Somebody has got to have a question. All right, I'm going to ask kind of the standard panelist type question. If you had one piece of advice to tell the audience about how to implement tools and technology in their business, and you can't say just use a CRM because you already said that. One piece of advice, what would that one piece of advice be?
Take time, sit down, think through what you really need, because what you're going to need systems to communicate among yourself. You're going to need systems to make sure that you are following up with those leads and are receiving, and the actual management of that lead and the management of the transaction. So take a step back, think through. There's a plethora of tools and technologies and things that you can do, but it's what matters to you. Like I said, we have made our share of mistakes, and we have utilized or bought systems that I paid thousands of dollars and never been used because I didn't take the time to sit down and think, what do I really need to be efficient and to help my agents move ahead? The day that I did that and I took a step back and I streamlined, I said, this is what we're going to be using. There's 300 other things that I want to use, but you know what? I'm ranking them. And it's like graduation, right? You go to elementary school, middle school, high school. That's what we're doing. We're getting very, very good at what we have. We're making sure that they are working for us, that we're profitable before you add anything else.
That was really good. I don't think I can add to that. I'm done. You should have dropped the mic. That was good. Okay, the original question was just the one piece of advice. Oh my gosh. Yeah, truthfully, I would just say I think that getting everything you can out of what you've got, I agree with that, just because with the question over here, do I have multiple CRMs? Do I have multiple, no, I think keeping it simple is probably what I would say is what you can get very distracted very quickly. And so I think that especially for people like us, we see all these shiny objects, we want to try them, And then the next thing we know, you're exactly right, is you're not doing anything well. So I think using what you have, making sure that you're using it to the fullest, and I'm not using it to the fullest. I mean, there's always things that you can improve upon. So focusing in on that and understanding that you just got to continuously, and then I'm going to speak out of both sides of my mouth. I also think that technology changes daily. And Mercy, you said something, everything right now is working really well for me. And I think that that's also something that we have to be very grateful for, but then also looking ahead and going, I've got to stay on top of this, because don't have one pillar of your business. As much as I love Zillow, Zillow is not the only thing that I use, because you don't want to put all of your eggs in one basket ever. There are tons of people smarter than me that are here. Probably most people are smarter than me that are here. And one of the things that I love listening to is what's working for them. And it doesn't matter what market you're in. It doesn't matter if it's a different type of market. If you can pick up just one little thing that you can go, I'm gonna put that on my list, like you said, make sure I've got everything dialed in as much as I can, and then I've got to be making sure I'm looking to the future too, and that I'm not getting left behind because I put my head in the sand and thought that everything was okay, and now everything is disrupted.
Last chance for questions. Oh, there's one.
Coming.
She's coming with a mic. Hang on just a sec.
Right. My question is, you're using another CRM. You're using another CRM. With the changes in the Premier PA4 CRM portion, will you continue to use another CRM?
Yes. Okay. So when I said I'm using one CRM, and it does sync with Zillow. So the changes so we're adjusting. I mean, all of us are. We're all adjusting. I was over at the help desk today. They're going to think I didn't go anywhere today because my little thing wasn't scanned, but I was over there trying to make sure that our system, our CRM, is connected correctly with Zillow with the changes that are happening. So I can still use FirePoint and make sure. Now, that doesn't mean that we're not looking in there and that I'm not paying attention. I use my Zillow app. The agents obviously use it more than I do, looking in the Premier Agent app. But as far as the CRM, everything is going to be going through that CRM. So we want all of those Zillow leads and opportunities to be ran through that CRM, so we can make sure that we're doing the tracking and accountability on that side. Because you have to be able to say, here's open house leads, here's advertising leads, here's Zillow leads, here's cast leads, here's whatever all these leads are, and you need those all in one place. So that's how you pull those and make them all in one place. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
My other recommendation, what I'm doing right now, I'm trying to keep everything, of course, through one CRM because it's very complex when you have a lot. However, I do value the CRM that Zillow has put together. So what I'm doing, I'm managing to a certain degree both, because I want to make sure that the Zillow CRM reflects that I'm taking care of that client. Okay, so for me that's extremely important, and I thank Zillow for doing that. It's a little bit more work on my side, but at the same time I'm working with Follow Up Boss to make sure that I simplify that experience. But in the meantime, I have spoken with certain people in Zillow, and I know what are the top 3 things that I need to make sure that I update in that CRM if it's not automatically updated, so that they're also getting information and know that my agents are doing the job.
Awesome. Anybody else? Hang on. We'll get you. Lee has a question.
Okay, I have 2 questions. I'm a little late, so I'm sorry, sweetheart. I don't know your name.
Mercy.
This is for you then. What are the top 3 things that they told you? And then I have a question for you.
Yeah, and actually, if not, I will send it to you. But what I'm trying to make sure, when you go down, this says the status, whether or not you're in contact, have an appointment. I update that because I want to make sure that they know that there has been some sort of contact. The stage, whether it's a buyer, or it's a seller, or it's a renter, I do that. On my own, I also try to put some notes if it's a bad lead or something. There's not such a thing as a bad lead, but you know what I mean, right? You need to put like a note. And there is a 4th one I can't remember, but I can find out for you.
It might be texting. because I was talking with someone in Zillow, and because I'm the same as you, I do the follow-up boss.
Okay.
And so they said that the only way that they know is if you're texting. They said they're working on email, but that's like coming.
Exactly.
Thank
so
you.
I will double check, and I will be more than happy to give you my card and give you, because I'm doing, like I said, I'm doing those 3 things right now, but there is a 4th one, and I think that we all should know to make sure that we're updated.
Sure. And then the second question, and maybe to both of you, I'd love to know, and that is, aside from Zillow and past client and client referrals, what is your best lead source?
Okay, so our best lead source, we have a celebrity endorsement, and that's probably, other than Zillow, is where we get a lot. There's so much cross marketing now, and the impact that you have for your brand, the impact that you see. I think that Zillow is huge. I think they see you on Zillow if you have a strong profile. They see you on TV. They see signs in the yard. But I would say our celebrity endorsement with Barbara Corcoran is probably our biggest.
Past clients and sphere of influence.
Past
So
clients.
last question is, what's your rate of return from your Zillow marketing?
The verdict's still out right now with the new program. So we just rolled out 14 days ago. So up to this point, it's been the verdict's still out on that. I'll let you touch on that more.
I am not on the new system yet. It's going to be in about 2 weeks. I've been using Zillow for a while. It's working extremely well for me. Our conversion rate right now is almost 6%, which is very hard to get, but we're like exactly 5.45, and my conversion rate is about 1,600. The cost of the one that I converted. So let's see what's going to happen once we have the new. But my goal is to continue increasing the conversion rate, because I truly believe that we're going to get better leads.
Awesome. Anybody else? Way in the back.
I'm coming.
What is the most effective action item that you implement to hold your agents on your team accountable for following up?
Accountable for what? For following up. You want to start? Sure. Okay, so this is like the fun part of it that I really like, because nobody likes accountability, and nobody likes having to hold people accountable. So what we've implemented, and I kind of touched on this, we have a screen in our bullpen area. So our agents are all in kind of one open area and have desks all around. In the middle of that room are their numbers. And so each of them are seeing those numbers every single day. What we've done to hold them accountable, we've developed a matrix system where we have just it's a simple Google spreadsheet that basically gives them points for appointment set, or contracts executed, contracts written, appointment set, client shown, calls, text. Am I missing anything? Appointment set. And what they have to do is, if the matrix goes, if they're weighted, obviously executed contracts have the most weight. One of the things that I kept on seeing is that, with higher producers, and when they have a lot of contracts, if they get 5 to 6 contracts at a time, they're busy. Our agents are going to inspections. We don't have showing partners. They're at inspections, they're at showings. They're talking with the lenders. We have a transaction coordinator that does a lot of that, but when they were doing that, their numbers of calls and those things would fall because, they were busy out in the field with their clients, or they were showing, or they were with clients. So what we did is we decided, okay, we're going to drop down the number of calls that are required if you have 10 points. We're not eliminating that, because obviously we know that if somebody is showing and getting contracts, and then they are not making any calls, next month is shit. It's bad. And so they're like, I don't have any business now. Yeah, that's because you were paying attention to this and forgetting about the follow-up. So we've done that. We've implemented that. Morning meetings. If they don't show for the morning meeting, they're not on lead gen that day. So they have to be there for the morning meeting. They have to have their calls. It's a week. It's a week at a time. If they didn't make their calls, if they didn't make their numbers the week before, they're not on the whole week, because we feel like, hey, you need to be making your calls. You don't need these new people. You need to focus on the people that you're already working with. What else am I missing? That's pretty much our accountability and making sure that they're held accountable.
Same, but in addition, and actually this is something that I learned through my coach. Follow-up boss, I mean, you see everything's very transparent, so everybody's seeing their numbers, right? But there's a way to learn. How many of you, when you were in college or school, you wrote whatever you were thinking or your notes, you write them again, and pretty much they stay with you. So we are trying to apply the same concept, and we also have this weekly spreadsheet, which is the same thing that they are, I can get that information directly from Follow-Up Boss, but it is a way for them to acknowledge what they're doing on a daily basis, how many calls, how many, actual contacts, the appointment set, all of that in one piece of paper. Because again, it's kind of like practice. It's like, okay, I see it, but I'm writing it, I'm remembering, and I know what my goal is. And then at the end of the week, we're supposed to have a one-on-one where they are accountable for discussing their progress. So I think that that's also, besides what you're saying, helping us, or beginning to help, because we have implemented that recently.
And with that, we are out of time. So please give Mercy and Aaron both a big hand. Aren't they awesome? You guys were great.